But the bottom line is that North Carolina's defense is a travesty. I mean, they showed signs of life in games 1 through 6. There was some cracks by App State, and Buck mentioned Virginia set the blueprint. I think App State set the blueprint even before that. I mean, dudes were running free, and they talk about when they played great defense in the third quarter. Georgia Tech had the ball for a minute, a little over a minute in the third quarter. I mean, it's great when you play defense for a minute. That fourth quarter, App State has company. You know, Mac was asked about it. I think Adam asked and AJ asked in post game, but unbelievable. And I liked your insight on our side chats about what was going on there. But just overall, right now, before we detail it, any words for what we saw last night?
Well, first of all, I do want to be fair, as Buck was. I do think that the phantom hold on Diego Pounds did change the course of the game. Because that was a game. What was a 38-yard gain? They were in position to go up 3 scores, and then that ends that drive, and then Georgia Tech scores to cut it to 1 score. That is a play that has significant impact on the overall game, because you do wonder, okay, well, what happens if they do go up 3 scores, and you go up three, it's a big difference, etc. But like Buck, my end conclusion is, well, then they just scored another touchdown. They'd have found another way, because in the fourth quarter, the only reason they didn't score on that last drive is because they could kneel. I mean, 3rd and 3, opportunity to get a stop for the defense, and the back only went down because they didn't need to score. He could have scored right there. So, yeah, this was I think in a lot of ways this defensive performance was worse than what we saw at App State last year. Which,
Interesting.
and especially at this stage of the year. Because with App State last year, I mean, it was just there were busts, right? There were a variety of busts where guys just uh, weren't in the right spot. What was it, the second game under a new coordinator, or is it the third? Uh,
App State was second.
yeah, it was the second game. So second game under a new coordinator, you had some busts, you had some missed assignments here and all that. I didn't see a ton of missed assignments out there. I just saw defense just getting absolutely dominated. And in both phases. So they got beat in the passing game in the second quarter, like Buck said. And then in the fourth quarter, they got just run over. So this was not a matter of, like, against App State, it was, a few big plays that were partly the result of some missed assignments, just kind of apocalyptic kind of thing that happened. In this one, it was one of those things where you knew, like, this defense, they kept saying on the broadcast, oh, they are gassed, they are tired. Why? You played,
They held the ball longer than Tech did. I
yeah,
mean, time of possession.
yeah, you played 5 plays in the third quarter. You shouldn't be tired. The reason they were tired is because Georgia Tech was beaten, was
Wearing their ass out.
yeah. You said it. Yeah, they were getting worn out up front, and they looked tired because they were just getting destroyed at the point of attack. And yeah, that gets tiring. Sixth, seventh, eighth play of a drive when you're getting driven back. Yeah, you look tired. But this was, I think, in a lot of ways worse. And when this is happening at this stage of a defensive staff being in place, at this stage of having the recruits that you've actually recruited over the last few years on campus, this is the kind of performance, especially paired with last week. This is not a one-off. When you get this sort of thing, this is the sort of thing that requires that does not suggest that you might need to. It's the sort of thing that requires that you need to make some changes.
Like almost immediately. I remember Buck. I remember being here doing this show after, what was it, 70 that ECU put up in Greenville. And I said, I think some people need to be left down there and,
this was one of those.
and Uber home. Well, they didn't have Uber back then. I think I might have said Greyhound bus. And
You
Jason, you Buck, let's sort of
This
put
was
it in
a tarmac
perspective.
firing type situation.
Yeah, I mean, for this team to go from top 10 2 weeks ago, we did a podcast 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about playoffs. We were talking about high
Playoffs?
rankings. We were talking about high rankings, and then Virginia happens. And quite frankly, I thought, and Buck, I want your thoughts here. I thought that after the Virginia game, it would set them up better to play Georgia Tech, simply because this old team, it clicks. You can't be soft. You can't do this, and then they just double down on it.
And that was, you remember, that was the concern that both Greg and I brought up in the chat. And we both brought it up in the game plan podcast, and we had a lot more to say after we finished recording. Could have put some of that on air, but it was probably a little bit too spicy for air at the time, about what our potential concerns were, and every one of them came out in this game. And yeah, it was just the same old soft Carolina, same old soft Tar Heels.